Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is JonJonTheWise, and today we got another Cyberpunk video for you guys. We're going to be answering the community's questions about combat with James Hutt from Artalsorian Games. But before we get into that, make sure you guys check the Discord link in the description below to be a part of our community. Make sure you guys follow me on social media. Excuse me, at JonJonTheWise on all social media, TikTok, Twitter, all that stuff. And then make sure you guys go onto my podcast, Tabletop Cyberpunk, where I talk more about Cyberpunk, our favorite game. And if you guys want to support me, patreon.com/JonJonTheWise is the best way to support me. I greatly appreciate all the love and support. All right, we got a lot of questions. James, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
I flew in from Balancetown for a special meeting.
The mayor is here. The mayor. Ho, let it be known throughout the town. You need a town crier, all right? No mayor is nothing without
I need a bell.
Yeah, you need a bell.
I used to have a big red phone.
You need a phone.
I still do, but it's over there, and I'm not getting up.
You need a sash. You need a top hat. I
have a sash and a top hat.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. You do have the sash and the top hat. There you go. All right. Well, we're going through the list slowly. All right. Let's get straight into it, James. James and I looked at these questions beforehand. I collected from the community. There's a lot of repeat questions out there. So if some of you out there are like, "Hey, you didn't answer my question," there's a reason why we couldn't answer your question that I won't get into. But also because I got a bunch of questions. I think we'll cover most of the stuff. If there's more, make sure you guys go to Artalsorian's website and ask the mayor himself directly. He does a blog post every week. Is it every week or 2 weeks?
It's when we can get to it. It's every other week. It's every other week sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of times we got cool stuff to talk about in other places, like our hot April Fool's Day project. That was so good.
It was amazing. The community's making pre-gens.
Check out that Elf Lines Online content.
Yeah, dude, the hottest MMO in the dark future.
True.
All right, so let's get into it. The first question I want to ask you, James, before we start talking about combat is you came from Cyberpunk 2020's combat system, had to make a brand new combat system with Cyberpunk Red. So what were the biggest challenges and the hardest parts about balancing combat coming from 2020 to Red?
So I think the hardest challenge, well, first off, I didn't make a wholly brand new system. I had to update the system to a modern standard. So I had step one, you're standing on the shoulders of giants. So I had it easier than a lot of other people do. But step two, that's also great expectations. So there was a lot of expectations on getting that right. But you let it fuel you. And you move forward. Hardest part mechanically is bringing down all that math, because in 2020 the game blew up, crazy blew up, and they had to put a bunch of expansion content out, and those numbers got pretty inflated. So on this time, I got to take it and say, I'm going to make sure that the math does not rise above this amount, and I'm going to just pinch everything down.
Yeah, like make a foundation. A foundation for future supplements.
While I was doing that, I also wanted to make it fast and easy to run and easy to play. And something that, despite it looking really crunchy, when you look at it, I want it to be intuitively crunchy enough so that if you play it 3 times, you'll know how to play. And eventually you may not need anything except the range table. You're never going to not need the range table. That's non-memorizable. I still use the range table. Don't worry if you still use the range table.
GM screen is coming, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah, it's on the way and it's hot.
Yeah. I already put in my pre-order, so there's that. Okay, so now let's get straight into the second question, which really sparked this whole meeting. Which, thank you, by the way. I forgot to say thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, you're always welcome, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. The community appreciates it. So let's get straight. And you've always been, let me just put it on the record, ladies and gentlemen. James has never shied away from any questions from the community, and he will continue to not shy away. So let's get straight into it. Autofire is the main thing that we wanted to talk about. So you and I were talking a little bit off air about it, and it's a discussion that I saw within the community. People were trying to understand exactly what what made Autofire a ×2 skill. We know why it is something that needs to be balanced, especially if you came from 2020. You know exactly why it was too deadly in 2020. And in red, it's a ×2 skill. And in practice, people have said that, you know, it's harder to hit a critical injury with 2d6 than it is 4 or 5d6 with some other weapons. And it's a steep price to pay for a ×2 skill. So, what are the benefits of Autofire? What can you tell us about the design behind it?
Okay, so the reason why it's a ×2 skill is so that you have to have something, you have to focus your build to make the best use out of it. All of the other ×2 skills follow the pattern of, if I have this skill, that means I'm a character who does this. It's almost a defining trait of your character, like paramedic. For example, if your character has paramedic, kind of feel like a paramedic. If you have Autofire, one, it's access to two-handed weapons. It's access to powerful Autofire weapons that aren't, the base ones. Like I believe the minigun. And three, you also get access to SMGs and the highest power on those SMGs. A lot of what I see in the community is people running cool statistical models. And I shall say it on the record again. If you're using cool statistical models, you are cool. Everyone that uses statistical models is the coolest person in the room at any given time.
You heard it here, folks.
Anydice.com. If you're the guy that made that, please email me. I'll print it out. Please sign a copy of their webpage. I don't know how you do it, but I want it. My point being, Autofire is not about it operates a little differently than you're used to. It's big investment because you get a lot of stuff out of it. If you're just using Autofire to use SMGs, you may be underutilizing your own skills. So Autofire, big picture, Autofire is about the swingy damage on the outsides. It's not about the middle average in the middle. The first time you hit a full damage, a full 4 above the Autofire DV, and then you roll 2 6s, you will just delete someone. You will delete someone like they have, like you have like a Vorpal sword level of deletion. It is some of the highest consistent swing damage, and you will be hitting it more often on net in that specific way. There's a lot of caveats here.
Yeah.
But more than if you wanted to, okay, I'm just going to single shot headshot people, which is a different type of swing for a different type of damage. It's meant to fill in a gap in between. I'm just going to point at your head with my gun, and I'm going to fire the super easy. I'm going to hit you probably because I have a good skill and I'm not going to target. Meaning I'm shooting for a center of mass chest. It provides a character with a sort of one-stop shop. If you have Autofire and you want to spec into Autofire, you don't need shoulder arms. You don't need handgun. You can treat Autofire like it's your only damage skill. And since it provides both two-handed and single-handed modes of combat, it even provides concealable modes of combat through the SMG. A lot of people are sleeping on the concealable SMG that you can pull out with Autofire. That's important in situations where concealability is important to you. It's the highest concealable damage as well. There are a lot of reasons to use Autofire, but if you want that consistent average high damage, maybe look at playing a solo, step 1. 2, maybe look at doing single shot head targeting. That might be more your speed.
Yeah.
Autofire is about swinginess. It's about a middle range to short range engagement. and it's finally, um, it's meant to somewhat, and I haven't seen a lot of this in comments. It's meant to be used with luck. To early game, you're using more luck to hit those high numbers. And you can just sprinkle in a luck point here or there. You don't need to go full. I use all 8 points of my luck. I spec for luck. Boom.
Yeah, you were actually telling me you said one thing that it really made sense to me is it's supposed to be like a high ceiling damage dealing thing that's wild and unpredictable, and that's why it has this insane range of, you know, doing 2 times 4 damage, which is 8, to all the way like 50 plus, right, with the critical injury. And that's the whole idea of it, is it's so wild and crazy that if you actually want to do consistent average damage, you wouldn't auto-fire. You would use a single shot that's more calculated. John Wick doesn't auto-fire, like you said.
Yes, John Wick does not auto-fire. John Wick is a solo with enough points to do I just point at your head.
Yeah.
And he uses pistols because they're better in close range.
There you go.
At least in the fantasy of John Wick, which is admittedly kind of the fantasy of Cyberpunk too.
It's not gonna lie. It's 100%. It's a solo Cyberpunk.
Very, very, very the same. If only we got a similar actor across the franchises.
Oh yeah, I want. If only we could get him to do something in the Cyberpunk universe.
He's too cool for us.
I think so too, man. All right, so what about I'm not gonna ask you about 3-round burst. You said now it has become auto fire.
We needed a new name. We wanted to do a bunch of guns, and we didn't just want to. We wanted to combine a lot of ideas into a cool swingy damage system instead of sticking to 3-round burst. Yeah. 3-round burst in the Jumpstart kit is busted. It's broken. It is. Yeah. It was meant as a, hey, here's a way to preserve the power of the assault rifle, and we'll talk about the power of the assault rifle later. Sure. Because it is a powerful weapon.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's exactly what it is. So
and I fired one at Utah. At Utah, I fired one. I think I fired a Scar, and it was like, wow, this is something. This is something.
Yeah, that's a nice assault rifle too. Tell us about Suppressive Fire then. Suppressive Fire is another alternate firing mode for automatic weapons. What, in your opinion, is the best application for it? What's like the ideal situation for using Suppressive Fire?
I would say the ideal situation for suppressing fire is just the other benefit. This is the one I forgot on Autofire, is you get this cool damage mode and you get a tactical tool. Basically all the other weapon skills, you just get a weapon that you're good at, and damage, and a good range band that you're good at. With Autofire, you get all these toys, so it's got to be 2 cost. Suppressive Fire is for tactical players that enjoy tactical combat. It's for keeping people in your team's good range bands. Number 1. It's for stopping melee fighters from reaching your guys. And 3, if they're in the open in a field, it's how in the heck are it's to stop people from doing the Wonder Woman running across no man's land toward you. Like, I have no way of telling this person to turn around, and yet I'm holding a gun.
Yeah.
It solves that problem. However, if they do, there is a skill for I don't care about your suppressive fire, and it's a very good skill for doing that. And I really do recommend that GMs use it, because if you don't use it, move is way less useful. Move is, honestly, if you're not playing on a map, maybe I'd take less move in your campaign. Because it's hard to, you know what I mean?
It's tough with theater of the mind.
The degenerate power gamer, maybe I'd lower my move just a little bit.
Yeah.
And put it in luck.
Yeah, like, wait, we're playing theater of the mind?
Game.
Yeah.
I can use 3 move.
What's the minimum? 2? That's funny.
The minimum is 2, but I would never put 2 because then that would ring an alarm bell that I'm power gaming, and that when you're power gaming, you got to do it quietly.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you so much for answering those questions about Autofire. I was very curious about it too. Now I have a better understanding. Let's go on to the next question. People have asked if there's a possibility of other damage dice getting introduced, like a D10 or a D3, or the blasphemous D8s, 4s, and 20s.
We really, really love the simplicity of D10s and D6s. So I would say if we ever do it, it's probably a D10.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to.
Yeah.
I like my dice being 6-sided for damage and 10-sided for everything else.
Yeah. And it would be tough to kind of calculate critical injury with the D10, right?
Yes. Plus, we did kind of wed that.
Yeah.
So we may be a little married to it. And I like the curve that D6s provide. And it provides a... If you play a lot of Cyberpunk with D6s for damage, you get a feel for the curve. Oh, wow, that was actually pretty good. Well, that was average.
Yeah.
You get a feel for it.
I love the fact that I could have 5 dice in my pocket, maybe 6, 1 D10, 5 D6, and I'm golden. I can play in the park. I could play in a back alley.
Right. You could take 3 of those. You start playing some CeeLo.
Yeah.
Do whatever you like.
So CeeLo, Jesus. Okay, let's move on to close targets, hard to hit with assault rifles. What's the idea behind that design?
Okay, so in really close up, pistols are the way to go in that 0 to 6 range band. Really close engagements, handguns are better. It's still pretty unwieldy to move a long gun around, and you got to remember that you're not shooting at targets. You're shooting at people that don't want to be shot. So it's as much as I can hit a guy 2 meters away. What do you mean? And I have to move and aim and target, and the person doesn't want to get shot. And they're even if they can't dodge bullets, they're probably trying to make it difficult for you.
Yeah.
Don't know why that was funny for me.
You just like people not wanting to get shot?
Yeah, that sounds pretty twisted.
Hey, man, it's a dark future, all right? We're having fun here.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
From a game balance perspective, that's where pistols are good. That's why you want a sidearm, because your almighty assault rifle is almighty at a distance, and a medium distance is still almighty. But in that medium distance, SMGs are going to squeak by you a little bit. Because they're closer up, and then you start getting really close, and you wish you had a shotgun.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because shotguns are the assault rifles of the close range, if you think about it.
So if you don't like this problem that you're having with your assault rifle not being good up close, you can put an underbarrel shotgun.
Ooh. Oh man,
and that's what that's for.
That's nuts. Okay, sounds good. Let's move on to vehicle combat. Let's talk about ramming. In the community, people have been asking why why does the vehicle take 66 damage, and what is the design behind that, and the design behind getting the critical injury of whiplash. Some have said that it feels like it's a little bit of a steep price to pay for something that would be fun to do. So what kind of insight can you give us on that?
So whenever you hit something that you're considered to be ramming, like if you hit another car, that car is also hitting your car. You're doing this at speed, and you're doing this for the explicit purpose of damage. If you're trying to do like maybe a maneuver in your car, like I want to hit this guy in the wheel. I forget what that's called, but I've watched videos. It's a police thing.
Oh, the pit,
that might
pit
be a
maneuver.
vehicle maneuver. That might be a vehicle maneuver instead. If you're doing ramming, you've put your foot down and you're going hard into them, as hard as you can. And if you don't have a combat plow, which you don't get, when you're the rammer instead of the rammee, you don't get the damage when you have a combat plow. So if you want to do this, you can put a combat plow on and be just fine. This is, I don't have a combat plow and I'm going full speed at another car. Honestly, if you're going full speed at anything, it's going to screw up your car. 66 damage sounds like a lot, but cars have a lot of health. If you do this on a motorcycle, what do you think is going to happen to the motorcycle? If the thing that you think is going to happen to the motorcycle is going to happen to the motorcycle. That's not really what they're for, but you can still put a plow on them, I think.
Yeah, it would be fun.
I'm not sure. Or a tech can. Even if I'm wrong, a tech can do it. My point being, it's to disincentivize you from crashing your car into things. The fact that you get whiplash, if it's only 5 damage and the critical injury doesn't actually do anything other than lower your death save until you get it treated, which isn't that hard if you've got a med tech. Ramming is supposed to be a special thing that you do every once in a while, not this is a costless action I can do all the time. And even with a combat plow, it doesn't make all ramming safe, because if you get rammed, your plow isn't going to help you. Your plow only helps when you're the aggressor.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's how plowing works. Only 5 damage direct to your HP because of the bonus damage for the crit injury. Your car takes the brunt of the assault, but if you played your cards right, that might not be your car you're driving.
Yeah, and also you did make
Who cares about their car?
Exactly. And you made a good point. You said that you only get the critical injury once. You don't get it again. So, if you decide that you want to go on a ramming spree, you'll get 5 HP down, and then your vehicle will take a battering. Hopefully you roll low on those 66, and you can keep doing it, but it's not sustainable.
It's also kind of easy to dodge a moving car coming at you, because it's easy to see coming. And dodging is more than just dodging.
Yeah. Also,
you're not dodging the car in place like Neo. You're you're moving out of the way.
There's also a little rule that says the person that you run over could end up on top of the car if they choose to.
Mm-hmm.
So they can
thing. Go up on the hood.
Yeah,
that's to preserve, like, if players get hit, they get that agency of, okay, I've been hit by a car. My GM already hit me with a car. Now I get to be on the car and pull up my shotgun and fire into the windshield.
You know what? You're right. I need to hit my players with cars more often.
Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. Let's get on to the next question. Let's talk about demolitions. This is something that I've been curious about too. First of all, I guess we should ask, how do we use the skill first, and then we'll ask the other question. So it's a ×2 skill, and can you give us insight on why it's so powerful?
So it's so powerful because the type of player that wants to use it is the type of player that wants to say, I want to rig the whole building with explosives. And that's a massive story power. It's a story power skill in that, you're probably going to be rigging a lot of grenades, or you're going to be rigging some C4 or something like that, plastic explosive wise. Rigging it around the house, and you know where to put it. So your role is sort of like how best to do this, so that I make this building go down.
To maximize damage, basically.
To maximize damage to the building. We leave it open because we realize that blowing up large structures, the only thing we have like that is the cover mechanic, which we can work into grenades because they're finite and specific in their explosion patterns. Demolitions is for people who look at grenades and go, it's not enough. I want more. I would say that it's for it could also be for diffusing some bombs. That might be an exciting way to do it. but it is a 2-cost skill that is expensive, because it can be abused by a smart player.
Oh.
It is one of those ones that is, and you can build a whole character around being the guy that uses the explosives in cool ways. It's kind of like a story power skill attached to a damage skill, because really throwing grenades is athletics.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can build a combat skill character that just uses explosives and use that as your 2-cost skill to get your story points where you're setting those traps and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So it's because of the outside of the box thinking with Demolitions that it can be so powerful. That's why it's a ×2 skill.
Yes.
Got it. And this was an interesting question. How much damage do non-traditional explosions cause? Like cars that blow up, propane tanks, landmines?
So the quick version is most every time we do that in a scream sheet, we say as a grenade. If it's got a bunch of shrapnel it's throwing around, maybe it's a fragmentation grenade. Or it's an expansive grenade or something if you want it to be critically injury. Otherwise, I would consider maybe a rocket in terms of the damage, but we really only have so many bits of damage that you can put on it. I would say small explosion would be a grenade, medium explosion would be a rocket. If you're going above that, it better be cool.
Okay. So basically,
Better be able to see it coming and don't use it as a pit like a landmine. That would be a dick move.
Okay, so 6d6 is basically what it's going to be.
In most of the scream sheets, when an explosion happens, we say 66.
Gotcha. Okay. And then if there's anything special about it, it's up to GM discretion. And, you know.
The question is very open-ended, non-traditional explosive. I don't know what you mean by non-traditional explosive.
Yeah.
Do you mean a gas grenade going off? Do you mean a chemical weapon blowing up in the middle of a city? Do you mean a nuclear bomb? I don't know what you mean. And the GM is an incredibly powerful champion of the rules.
Yeah.
That I cannot fully control. I can only assist.
And only ask them not to break the game. All right, let's move on to holding actions. This was one of the biggest things that was like an epiphany moment when Jay Gray told me about it. The first video I made was on combat because of something like this. So why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown on how important holding actions can be tactically in a combat situation?
So holding an action is a tactical maneuver, basically. That says I would have gone already, but I'm waiting. It's sort of the privilege of those higher in the initiative queue to say, this initiative queue, nah, I didn't need it anyways. I wanted to be here. Or, but I wanted to react to him. If you're lower in the initiative queue, you're kind of the slow guy this time. And you have to change your gameplay maybe because of that. You can't be the person that reacts. Well, you get to be the person that naturally reacts to other people. You don't get to be the I hold my action to shoot him when he goes to shoot. Anyway, holding an action, you hold an action until later in the round. A specific time, you can pick a specific time, or you can pick a specific trigger that occurs. And when that thing happens, you can either choose to do the thing you were going to do or lose it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very simple. It has some side effects due to its simplicity, but I like those side effects, such as it makes being in the bottom of the initiative queue, having low initiative in a combat should be tactically bad, and it makes being high in the initiative queue tactically good, because I get to be more reactive than other people, or I can be reactive earlier, or with more forethought.
Yeah.
And other people.
So if your
initiative has always been good though in every TRPG, and here is no different.
Yeah, so if you're on the bottom of the initiative order, like you told me off air, that you can't hold your action past another round. You can't like carry it over. And the reason is if you're on the bottom of the initiative order, you're on your back foot. Everybody else saw whatever was going on and reacted quick enough. And these are quick, violent 3-second rounds. It's hard for you to catch up. It's like a cascading effect of not being able to catch up every round because you're on the bottom of the initiative order, right?
I will say that that's mostly a feeling of I'm on the back foot. Gameplay wise, it will not probably change the outcome of your combat unless you die.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that might be a little bit of a change, but you know.
I mean, well, think about it this way: the amount of effect is pretty neutral. It's really good to be first, and it's about a medium to be second and third. It's very bad to be last, but it's only very bad to be last, and then lead. And if it's very bad to be last, and then that leads to your death, that outcome doesn't happen that much, but it is an outcome that could happen.
Sure. Okay. Sounds good.
If you're this is going to be a video about if you are watching this video, you might want to play a solo. Solos have a very specific skill that say, hey, a combat is starting. I want to spend points to be better at initiative so that I can be more tactical this time.
Yeah.
It sort of gives more power to the solo as well to have it suck to be bottom of the initiative queue by making it cooler to be at the top of the initiative queue.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. Anyway. Here's a fun one. Combat animals using animal handling skill. Can you give us advice on how to do something like that?
My advice, that lazy GM advice, gem that you want is take one of the boosters, one of the like low level mooks that have no business doing anything but melee. Take them and just make them into an animal.
Like a bear or a lion?
They're an animal now. Angry weasel.
Attack chicken.
Something. Attack chicken. Anything you desire.
Yeah.
If you want to be specific in how they're an animal, welcome to the homebrew community.
Yep.
You know, we support you. You're awesome. Do that. And if you want official rules on these things, I'm afraid you may have to wait. But hope springs eternal.
Yeah. Leopard printed chrome. That's the next one.
Everybody loved all of the cyber animals and cyber pets. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
In the previous chromes, we would be fools to not return to it eventually.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Let's
be like thinking that we aren't eventually going to get to Fullborgs.
Yeah, of course. I didn't add that question because I knew, like, come on, dude, Fullborgs are gonna happen. Don't worry, guys. All right, let's talk about Armorjack.
Season for all things.
Yeah, exactly. Light Armorjack. It is the king of character creation. Everybody I've ever seen play Cyberpunk takes the Light Armorjack because it is the highest SP armor without any negatives, without incurring negatives. So what can you tell us about having something like that and then having all these other options that don't seem as enticing? What are we missing?
So I would say Light Armorjack is a great armor. It's designed to be the best you can get without getting negatives. In a system that has negatives, there will always be an armor that is the best you can get without negatives. That's sort of the role that it fills. The armors below Light Armorjack are primarily for it's cheaper and almost just as good, maybe. If you don't think you're gonna get shot a lot, maybe. But we all know everybody wears Light Armorjack, and the water goes like a duck on their back, and they're fine.
Yeah.
Medium Armorjack and heavy Armorjack, that's sort of like I look at it and go, yeah, it's not as openly good, but maybe I could build a character around it. Think about it this way. At -2, that's only 20% less of accuracy. If you're not building a character that's trying to hit headshots all the time, maybe you want to build a defensive character. It's okay hitting those single shots, because those single shots are pretty easy to hit if you're combat invested.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe after you're combat invested, you go, maybe I want armor instead. Maybe I want more survivability, because light Armorjack is great at stopping pistols. Doesn't stop assault rifles. Nothing stops assault rifles like heavy Armorjack. I have not seen a lot of people abuse heavy Armorjack, specifically heavy Armorjack body, and then wear something else on the head, because heavy Armorjack body is already expensive enough.
Yeah.
And you can just like ignore a lot of combat in a heavy Armorjack suit. Because of the way damage works, and because it's built on that curve, because we only use D6s for dice, higher armors have less numerical up. But 2d6 damage, that's an average of 7. If you start going on anydice.com, you'll and putting in different amounts of d6s, you'll start going, wait, that 15 is actually a lot. That 15 is a ton.
Yeah, no, I mean, even in practice, because the players have SP11, I'm the GM, I got to make bad guys. I learned really quick that SP11, if I don't have the right kind of weapons and the right kind of opposition to go against that, then they're just going to be walking around not getting hurt at all. Just pea shooter style things are happening.
So SP11 is sort of, in this game, tuned to the math, the idea of think about a world where people have handguns on them all the time, and they're and you want to wear something that will stop pistol fire. You'd buy a light Armorjack.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you're like, I'm going into a war zone, or I know I will encounter heavy resistance, and it doesn't matter if I'm going a little slower if it can't kill me.
Yeah.
You want to go on those higher levels of the heavy armors. Not actually that cheap. It's like $500, right? For a heavy armor body, flak body.
I could look it up.
I know flak is supposed to be cheap. It's supposed to be the accessible entry level stuff. Heavy armor is also supposed to be expensive, because it's sort of like an answer to expensive weapons, so it should also be expensive.
Heavy armor is... Are we going Metal Gear or heavy Armorjack?
Flak.
The flak is 500.
Flak is 500 for what SP?
It's 15 SP, and it's -4 to reflex, dex, and move. It's a pretty steep price.
Oh, I know.
But for SP15...
That's a pretty steep price, but you're getting SP15 for only $500. That's what Fixer can buy you that at level 1. You can get that at character creation easy. And then you can maybe get some luck.
Yeah.
You can get a nicer gun. And then it's only a 3.
Some synth coke.
A little synth coke, a little coke action. Do that, you can score.
That's it.
Anyway, drugs are bad, kids.
Yeah, they are totally bad. In Cyberpunk, they can be good, but in real life, they're really bad.
And even in Cyberpunk, they're bad.
Yeah, they're pretty bad in Cyberpunk too, unless you spec a character that is going to take drugs. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Is there a penalty for shooting someone else that is engaged in close combat? So they're not in close combat with you. They're in close combat somewhere else with one of your allies, and I want to shoot them. Currently, rules as written, there is no penalty. It doesn't appear in the negative modifiers chart that is within the book as well. And I guess a lot of questions that I've seen in the community is about attacks of opportunity as well, not being present within combat. What can you tell us about all that?
So, being in close combat in this game is a lot more about quick actions. Your reaction is sort of your turn. Attacks of opportunity makes a lot more sense in a game that's melee focused. This is a game with guns. Honestly, the attack of opportunity is the hold action for I hold for him coming out of cover. You have to prepare for that. Also, not every game needs attacks of opportunity. Bogs down gameplay. If I have to, every time I move out of a square, I can't be a John Wick assassin if I'm taking an attack of opportunity from every guy I'm running past that I stab with a pencil.
It's definitely not cool.
It's not cool.
Yeah.
It slows down gameplay. If you want to add them in, go ahead. Or once you buy the book, it's yours.
Mm-hmm.
For that, I don't know what to say to you, man. Don't pirate our books.
Yeah, don't do that. You wouldn't download a car. What about the penalty for shooting someone in close combat?
Penalty. So in close combat, there is no penalty for shooting someone. Not by raw. If you want to make a shot harder, it should be because of an external factor. It isn't part of like shooting something that is hard to shoot at is part of a shooting skill. It's part of the skill you've learned.
Sure.
But like doing that in smoke, that's not part of your training. Shooting through smoke is not part of your training. Blinding lights or blaring in the room, that's where you start using the GM tool of penalties. And they are a tool for GM. So if you want to do it, if you want to put a new penalty in that is not strictly rules as written, go right ahead. I will say that the more penalties you put into a combat that are not directly relevant to the scene, like the room is filling with smoke, so everybody gets penalties, or are visited on one player in particular, that starts to get into that's a dodgy GM situation. Got to be really fair with those penalties.
Yeah.
So if you do them, remember which ones you use and make them consistent.
Yeah, that is a good point because I've done that
also,
before.
Every penalty you add is a minus is another math equation you're going to have to do. So
yeah,
sometimes it's better to just not penalize and then go to the next turn and then have even more fun.
Yeah. I've been in that situation where my players are like, wait, you're not going to give me a bonus for this thing because you gave me a bonus last time when it was like this. And I'm like, I don't even remember why I gave you the bonus. I don't know what happened. And then I get talked into giving the bonus on the spot. You know what I mean?
Oh, man. Be strong.
Be strong. All right. I'll remember you, James. I'll keep you in the locket with your picture and a heart. And I'll just hold on to that locket. Okay, James, how far can you throw someone?
So the throw action in the game for throwing people is part of our grab core.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for throwing people down to the ground like a judo throw. That's a little confusing, maybe. In terms of throwing a person, GM Fiat. I think it would be a cool way to do this shove action. Sort of quote unquote shove. You could retheme your throw like I'm throwing you over there. And if you used your movement, then it would be kind of the same as you walking them there, putting them down, and then walking back, which is kind of something you could do anyways. Because if you're in control of that grapple, you can move them anywhere you want. You have complete control of their movement. They move with you. So who's to say you couldn't move them? And then if you wanted to damage them, maybe do the throw action and then move back and then say to my GM, okay, but I threw him.
Gotcha. So
and then he hit the wall and that's what caused the damage. Or say I just wanted to push him against the wall a little far, little throw.
Yeah.
Not a throw you down. Maybe you do the movement, you put him, you drop him, move back, and play it like that. It is this is more of a scene thing. Like I want to throw a person. In terms of how far can I throw this person, we don't have a chart for that because that's a really specific thing.
Yeah. It's a crunchy thing that
in their height and weight.
Yeah.
Are you throwing them underhand or overhand? I don't want to. I wanted to do something else this April Fools.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, that would be a great chart for April Fools next year. Or for martial arts.
I will say, if you are in a mech suit, you can throw someone as far as you could throw a grenade. I'll give you that one. You can just have that.
There you go. All right. You heard it from the designer himself.
There you go.
Okay. Reflex 8 plus, rules as written. You can evade bullets, evade gunfire. I've heard it argued every which way throughout the community. I used to be against it. Now I'm with it. I hear some people saying, like, I only let people dodge bullets if they have cyberware and Sandevistan and all this. So what's the official word on dodging? Is it dodging bullets, evading gunfire? What do you say about that?
So the answer to this question is, if you're cool enough to be able to do this, you get to say it's whatever you want, just as long as you follow the rules. If you're reacting to the gun being pointed at you and dodging before they can even pull the trigger, and that's how you're dodging, go ahead. If you're Neo from the Matrix, go right ahead. Just as long as you follow the same rules as the other guy who's dodging the other way.
Yeah.
In his head, because it's all about making a communal story.
Yeah.
Dodging the bullet dodging thing is supposed to feel more visceral because it has that feel of in melee combat where you're rolling and they're rolling, and there's no two shakes about it. You guys are directly in combat.
Yeah, exactly.
So one reason I love bullet dodging in this game is because just firing at a range table, I can feel impersonal.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of the movie magic of dodging bullets is because gunplay is impersonal.
Mm-hmm.
It's impersonal, freakish, and deadly, and probably inhuman.
Yeah.
But it's a way of bringing the humanity of the action hero into it. This is a game about action drenched in simulationism, of course.
I also like the fact that it's
also about being John Wick, which
dude, that's
that cool
that's exactly
crunch.
What it is.
you gotta play that line. Which Keanu Reeves are you today?
Which Keanu Reeves? I'm Bill and Ted Keanu Reeves today. I'm Speed one. Speed. That's the good one. What I was gonna say something and then I lost it. What was I gonna say about dodging bullets? I lost it. Who cares? We're moving on. All right. Dual wielding benefits. We talked a little bit. Let's just zoom through this one really quickly. The best benefits from what I can tell. I wanted to add this here just so people, can come to it. But basically, you can have two different one-handed weapons. You can have a melee weapon. You can have a pistol. You can have an exotic weapon and another exotic weapon. You can have special
an exotic weapon and a normal weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you don't want to use your exotic weapon. You don't want to use the Shrieker every turn, but you gotta have it on you.
Yeah, and then this pistol has incendiary ammo. This pistol has AP ammo. And that's why there's a benefit to it. You don't get an extra rate of fire. You don't do extra damage. The benefit that you get is that you have more options. And putting your weapon away costs an action, so you avoid doing that as well. You have the other weapon already in hand.
You can have the super hot combo of very heavy pistol and SMG.
Ooh, yeah, that is nice. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Then you can do Autofire, and then you can crack some real shots. I love that.
There you go. Suppressive Fire. Put them in the right range, and then very heavy pistol aim shot them.
Yep, exactly. So let's talk about strength, giving bonuses to melee combat. Rules as written, there is no special bonus for having a high body or anything like that.
It just doesn't happen in Raw.
Yeah. So
it adds something called additive math. Which we stripped from this edition to make it easier to play, and you'll notice it when you play it without it.
Mm-hmm.
Game goes fast.
Gotcha. So there is a benefit to having a high body stat if you take martial arts, though.
Yes, there's also a benefit to having a higher body stat if you are using brawling, or if you're choking someone, or if you're throwing someone. We have this idea, but I sort of built the idea into other systems rather than having it directly end the damage statistic.
Yeah, gotcha.
You get access to higher damage dice the bigger body you have.
Yeah.
For
yeah.
martial arts and for brawling. And when you're choking someone, you deal your brawling stat directly to them, to their HP and damage. Choking people is actually really good.
Yeah, it's straight to their HP. It's really good. And isn't it after 2 rounds they go unconscious or something?
3
rounds.
3
okay.
specifically, so you can do that like 1, 2,
Oh,
3. They're out. That's why I did 3.
Well done.
It's easy to remember.
It's funny how some of those, it's like, did he do like percentage math? It's like, nope, it was. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, partially on that, where we've always used for our range tables, we've always used firearm statistics. But then there's a healthy smattering of I need it to go fast. I need to streamline it.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. First of all, I want to apologize to all the game masters for this next one. I greatly apologize, but it had to be done. So, James, how do you get a character's body stat to 15? What's the secret at character creation?
Character creation?
Or in general, is there even a way to do it past character creation?
What is your question? Body set to 15 at character creation, or body set to 15?
In general, I don't even know how to do it. I know it's linear frame is probably one of it, right? You get to 12.
So you get the you don't get the Sigma. You get the one after you get the good linear frame, and then you have a tech upgraded.
Ah, that's what it is. So the good one is it 12 or is it 14?
Well, the best one currently in the core book.
Yeah, well, of course. Not the one that I secretly saw. I haven't seen anything. I'm just bullshitting.
No.
But okay, so that's what it is. So it's a tech upgrade. See, people, you're sleeping on the tech. People are.
I mean, it's there because we made a whole class that is basically do whatever you want within these rules, play around with the rules. So we had to make sure there's some tables where there are extra entries that maybe you can't reach by raw, but the tech is kind of by raw.
Yeah.
When you think about it that way. I've designed everything around the tech to make sure that the tech would be awesome and fun and versatile and feel like they were breaking the game, but they wouldn't.
Yeah, it's my favorite role for sure.
They feel that way.
It's my favorite role because of the open-endedness of how creative you can be with the tech and everything, the field expertise, the upgrade, everything.
I used to make homebrew. The tech is a love letter to homebrew, so go do you.
That's awesome. Okay, the next one, I'll skip that one because it's really open-ended. Designing fair combat encounters. There's so many things to take into account. I don't think we would cover it.
Didn't we have an awesome talk the other day, John, on a panel about this?
Yes, exactly.
Why don't you link that in the comics? Send them over there.
Yeah, make sure you guys see that one. I did it with some of my favorite people at GaryCon.
Mine too. At GaryCon, yes. I believe for half of it, my internet cut out, and I don't have my beautiful face.
It's all good, man. Okay, let's talk about 1d6 and 2d6 weapons. What are the benefits behind them? As I don't really see any of my players taking them. What can you tell us about what we're sleeping on as far as a tactical or whatever with it?
So 1d6 weapons, you're talking about melee weapons. I don't believe we even have 1d6 ranged weapons.
No, you don't. It's light melee weapons are 1d6, and then light pistols are 2d6.
Okay, so let's talk about those both separately. For light melee weapons, they can get poisoned. They can accept other damage. So there are poisons that you can put on them, and those poisons are specific to only light melee weapons. So maybe the damage number is something you're getting caught up on. So get those vials of poison, get those vials of biotoxin, and then they're not 1d6 weapons. However, if you have a knife and there wasn't rules for stabbing somebody with a normal knife, that would be kind of weird, wouldn't it? Also, They're concealable right out of the bat. So that's the role they fill. They fill the boot knife role. But if you're a real bastard, you can do the boot knife covered in biotoxin.
Oof, that's nuts.
Oof, indeed. Also, they're very cheap. Additionally, and the last thing is, they exist as a way to do. There's the improvised weapon rule in the game needs weapons of all sizes because somebody might say, "I pick up this water bottle and I beat him with it." If this water bottle had spikes in it, I don't have anything near me that has a blade on it anymore.
Come on, dude. What do you get? Anymore? Oh, I just got that. Anymore.
Medium melee weapons. Right? These are the next light melee, medium melee. Sorry, the
medium
next
melee
one is medium ranged weapons.
Yeah, exactly. 2d6 pistols.
That's what we're talking about. 2d6 ranged weapons.
Yeah.
So these ones are innately concealable. They're 2 ROF. And I believe that these ones are basically for like purse guns. This is a mini Derringer. Guns exist in small calibers. There's been sort of an arms race in Cyberpunk. And it's left some lower caliber guns out of the races. If you're trying to cause the maximum amount of damage with a one-handed firearm, you're not going to pick these guns. These guns are good for their concealability and use with the handgun skill. They're not useful for shooting at armored targets. You're not meant to do that with these guns. They're useful for like cocktail parties. Melee is a lot more privileged in a stealth scenario. Because all these melee tools, all these stealth tools, they privilege melee because it kind of makes you a spy. The little gun, James Bond had a little gun. It was still a little gun.
Shout out to the PP7.
You can still. It's exactly the case. I don't think people are gonna take this one for damage. I think they're gonna take it for story moments, or you could give it to some mooks, and specifically in situations where maybe people are on a beach. People are not very well armored. It exists there as a mechanical. It has a mechanical use. Its mechanical use may not be for your player character that wants their big iron.
Yeah, you got to take into account all kinds of scenarios, right? Not just like me going up against a bunch of boosters and stuff like that.
Yeah, you don't. It would be kind of weird if we didn't have guns that weren't very good, because that exists, and we do inherit a legacy of simulation from 2020 that says I got to give the GM a tool for everything.
Yeah.
This tool is not for players except for very specific cool story moments. But I think that when you're at that moment for the medium handgun, it's going to be a cool moment. And then somebody else is going to pull out an SMG that's equally concealable and say, "Ha, you thought Autofire was a bad 2-cost skill. You went on John's podcast and you called it underpowered." Ha ha ha.
Oh man. Okay, sounds good. All right,
and then you'll laugh like Mandark from Dexter's Laboratory.
You'll definitely laugh when the 2d6 weapon rolls 2 6s. Then you'll be like, "Hey, not so bad after all, huh, buddy?" With your collapsed lung.
Yeah. 12.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
36 damage.
Last one. Last question we're gonna be asking is a big one. Martial arts special moves. Can you give us insight in the design on how they work? And I'll ask the other ones after. But basically martial arts special moves. If for those of you that don't know exactly how it works, you take a martial art, you specialize in it, and then within that martial art you get a special ability that has a prerequisite. Something has to have happened for you to be able to do this trigger. So can you give us a little bit of insight on that?
So martial arts, first off, you can take multiple martial arts. I hear people saying that you can only take one martial art. Nope, you can take multiple martial arts, but you got to learn them all separately. This is another one of those two-cost skills. So this is an expensive, powerful tool. Martial arts is very strong. If you get in that right range, you can collapse people's lungs, break people's ribs, crack their skull. You can do Mortal Kombat stuff to people. It's sort of it's a way for you to feel extremely strong as a melee character, and invest and get rewarded for it.
Yeah.
In a very specific kind of combat. I believe earlier in this video we've talked about all the ways to shut down this play style as well, but a lot of it is tactical. But if you're being stealthy, they're even better. They were built as an interlocking system, meaning I designed martial arts to fight martial arts, which is exactly how martial arts was designed to fight martial arts.
What about the one of the questions people asked are, can I use martial arts for grappling instead of using just brawling?
No, you have to use brawling.
Okay.
In fact, there are martial arts moves that require you to have used two different. Martial arts is like there are a lot of different styles. I wanted it to add a lot of variability to melee characters, different types of melee characters you can play. Like a melee character that wants to take judo is different than a melee character that wants to take taekwondo. If you want to take karate and you take melee weapon, you can do that cool, like, I have a melee weapon, but I'm also using karate. I forget the name of it, and I don't want to attempt to pronounce things wrong.
Akimbo?
It's very cool. Akimbo? That just means two.
Yeah, you're right.
Two things? I thought that was...
Yeah, you're right. I don't know what it's called either. I just guessed.
Are you saying Aikido?
No, not Aikido. I thought Akimbo was like both...
You got that, too.
Both hands are different weapons or something like that. Whatever it is.
I throw up my hands. I remember Akimbo shotguns. That's the last thing I remember from Akimbo.
Yeah. I think that's exactly
that was a good
I think
time.
You're right.
And if you can't have fun playing with Akimbo shotguns in Modern Warfare, I forget.
Yeah.
Maybe you just can't have fun.
Yeah, come on. Live a little.
Live a little, exactly. So it's designed as an interlocking system. You can take multiple martial arts, but you have to take them each independently of each other, meaning you're spending a lot of points.
Yeah. They're going to be all times 2 skills, so yeah,
maybe you can combine 2, maybe you can combine 3.
Yeah. Which is pretty hefty. It's a hefty price because if you see some of these special moves like the iron grip one where you literally just can't get out of it, you have to do like a crazy athletics feat to get out of it, basically, right? The DV's like super high.
It just increases the pre-existing. It just increases the amount that they're trying to get out of it by 2. But in a game that only has 10 numbers on a dice, that's 20%.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
I guarantee if you're taking iron grip, you bought into holding people there with your brawling.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Cool.
Anyway, it gives you also get a shared special move, which is cool.
Yeah.
The recover from prone.
Oh yeah, what did they call it? I don't even know if it's culturally appropriating.
They call it a kip up.
Or Chinese get up. I think that's what I've heard it in the past. I've
heard kip up.
That's probably right too. But it's the thing where you kick the feet up from the ground. I used to be able to do it. Now if I do it, I'll pop my knees.
It's super cool. A lot of there's so many like Asian influences in Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
So we had to have this system. It was a well-loved system from 2020. So I spent a lot of time on it, and I'm glad people enjoy it.
Awesome.
Yeah. How you do it is
up to you.
I think it's pretty easy to understand how to do it. It's just a lot of text. But don't worry, you won't need all of the moves.
Mm-hmm.
You'll only need the 2 moves from the school you want, and then the kip up.
Gotcha.
Which I think is called martial arts recovery.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Like a neutral term.
Yeah, which is great, and it conveys everything. All right, James, we just did 18 questions from the community. And I think that this covered a lot of ground when it comes to combat. Dude, I want to thank you so much for coming on and answering these questions for the community. Thank you for always being there, being available. I mean, not shying away from any of this. And thanks for making my favorite game, man.
Hey, I plan on continuing to do it.
Awesome. Awesome.
Welcome, man. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. And if you guys, once again, want to ask James any questions directly, go to rtalsoriangames.com to their blog From the Mayor's Desk, where he answers every question. There's a Google Doc, that a Google form that you just click on, put in your question, and he will get to it. He loves doing it because he loves the community, and we greatly appreciate it. Anything else you want to say, James, before we go off?
Yeah. You should also, while you're on that website asking me a question, you should check out all the PDFs we've made and put up there for free DLCs, because they're free and they're for you and they're our gift to you. So please receive it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want a guide to converting guns from 2020, there's a PDF for that.
Wait, give me a second. I want to speak directly to Mark Waters.
Okay.
Mark Waters, I know you haven't downloaded these free PDFs yet. These are for you. We made them for you. Go get them.
Come on, Mark.
Come on, Mark.
Come on, dude. Mr. Waters. All right.
I know. Mr. Waters, come on.
All right.
We're out here helping you, working for you, man.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for all the support and the love. Happy gaming. We'll see you guys on the next one. From James and I, we say thank you and goodbye.